So, here is today's big statement. Burnout is not just about work. Burnout is getting a lot of attention these days with a very welcome recognition that it's systemic, meaning that it's embedded in your company's, your department's, or your team's culture. And it's not just an individual problem. And this is great because for far too long, individual people have been held responsible for managing their own burnout when in reality, it comes from the overall work environment. But what's not being recognized is that causes of burnout go beyond the workplace. Burnout is a life problem, not just a work problem. Hey there, I'm Grace Judson, and I've burned out several times in my life. In one case, it was a work problem that was made worse by some life situations, and in another case, it was a life problem made worse by some work situations. And as a leadership geek, I work with companies and their managers to help address issues of workplace culture and leadership, which definitely includes how to help everyone, employees, managers, and leaders, create a supportive culture that helps people avoid burnout. So, here's my point. When we look at burnout, we need to recognize the impact of people's lives outside of work. That's essential to really understanding what burnout is. For instance, someone whose personal life experience is positive and supportive will be able to handle higher levels of stress at work. On the flip side, someone whose personal life experience is fraught with challenges can potentially burn out just from those challenges without any extra pressure from the work environment. If there is pressure in the work environment, and let's face it, whose work doesn't have at least some pressure, then the chances of burnout are that much worse. Okay, so you're nodding along and agreeing with me because you've probably experienced at least some of this yourself. Great. But now what, right? How does knowing this, knowing the dual roles of work and personal life in burnout, how does knowing this help us change things? Let's start here. I am not suggesting that managers now need to become their people's best friend, being there to support them in whatever is going on in their personal life. That's neither possible nor appropriate. You aren't qualified to be a counselor or therapist unless, of course, you are qualified. You have the education and license. But I am saying that first, managers need to take a long, hard look at the culture of the company and the culture they're developing within their own team because, yes, culture exists at multiple levels. In most companies, especially those of larger size, there are departments and teams that are great to work within and departments and teams that everyone knows are unhappy. Yes, culture rolls downhill from the senior leadership, and if the culture in your organization isn't the best, first, I'm sorry. And second, you have options for helping your team have a better culture than the company as a whole. Is it hard? Yes. And it's worth it if you want to develop your leadership skills and be the leader you really want to be and that your team deserves. There's a lot out there on building trust and developing a high-performing team, and I'm including some links down below to some of my work on that area. It's more than will fit into this video. Just know that you can do it and it's worth doing. I'll add that if the company culture is so overwhelming that you don't feel like you can make enough of a difference, there's too much nasty politics going on, there's too much of a focus on do more with less, there's too much disrespect and lack of inclusion and so on, then let's face it, it could be time for you to move on to a better environment. I can't speak to your specific situation, of course, without knowing a lot more, so just take that as something to think about. Okay, so what about people's personal lives? First, you need to know what your options are if someone's having a hard time. Does your company offer an EAP, an employment assistance program of some sort? Find out from your HR department what is available. You don't have to name any names, including yourself, if you're asking on your own behalf. Just say that you want to know in case someone needs it, so you'll be prepared. Now, obviously, someone's personal life is exactly that, personal, and really none of your business. But if someone's struggle seems out of proportion to what you believe their work pressure and stress would warrant, then it's worth gently asking if there's something else going on. For instance, hey, it looks to me like things are kind of difficult for you right now. Is there something going on that's taking up a lot of your time and energy? Maybe something that's especially stressful? That's a caring but not intrusive way of asking, though I hasten to add that there will always be someone who's offended by the suggestion that they're not doing well. You know your people, so you'll know who you can ask and who you should be more careful with. And of course, if it's a real performance problem, that requires a different approach. And again, there are links below to more resources to help with that. Okay. Depending on their answer, you can guide them to whatever your company makes available. There may not be anything, of course, in which case, yeah, you're sort of stuck. But you can ask if they're getting support, and you'll know to take it a little easier on them as much as you can within the reasonable requirements of their job. I often say that leadership is a fuzzy gray ball of uncertainty, and my answers to this question of burnout are part of that fuzzy uncertainty. When someone is struggling, there's no easy answer, and a great deal of the cause is often out of your control. All you can do is the best you can do, and know that simply by offering understanding, you've helped to make things better. I'm happy to answer questions, so do leave a comment below if you have a question or had an aha moment. There are some resources, as I've said, linked below as well, and as always, if this video was helpful, please do remember to like it and to subscribe and click the notifications bell so you'll know when I release the next video. In the meantime, go forth and avoid burnout for yourself and for your people. Take care.